All Blacks v Wallabies, ding ding, round 2. Here we go again. The final round of Rugby Championship games will get underway Saturday. I was about to say Saturday morning. It will be Saturday morning my time, but Saturday evening in Wellington, where New Zealand host Australia. What is on the line in this game? Well, a whole lot of pride between those cross-Tasman rivals. Potentially a third, fourth place playoff, depending on how the other game goes. More likely to be a battle between New Zealand and Argentina for second place in the Rugby Championship. The BLEDISLOE Cup not on the line, of course. They need to change the rules with that. It's a 2-match series, and if you aren't the holders of it, you have to win both matches in order to win the BLEDISLOE Cup. Come on. A little bit of common sense must prevail. And were it able to be won with an aggregate score victory in this game, it would just put an extra spicy little bit of edge on this match, because last week's game was really, really close. Will it be as close right now? Well, I'm going to get into my thoughts. Now we've got the two teams. I've got a combined 23-man lineup, which gives you a bit of an idea about where the balance of power lies in this one. And what I've also got, which I'm going to show you in a minute, is the lineups the last time these two teams played in Wellington. It's quite revealing. Quite an interesting one there. So stick around for that. If you get value from the channel, do me a solid. Just drop a little thumbs up on the video. It takes you no time, costs you no money, but it really helps boost the algorithm so I can reach people that don't even know I exist. It is just me. I'm Tim. This is Egg Chasers. I have no marketing budget, no corporate backers. It's just me. And so I need your help. If you haven't already, hit subscribe on the channel. Leave your comment as well. What do you make of the teams? Let's start with the ABs, who make 3 changes. 1 enforced, 2 tactical, and all of them in the back line. Anton Linnett-Brown is in for Jordie Barrett, who's injured. And both the halfbacks change. D-Mac and Cortez Ratimer drop to the bench. TJ Perenara starts. And Beauden Barrett as well. What is going on there? Tell me what you think. What's the thinking behind that selection? Is it, and here's one very possible thought, Scott Robertson is addressing the issue of not having any momentum or impact late in games. As has been talked about loads in the last couple of weeks, New Zealand have not scored a single point in the final quarter of any Rugby Championship match so far. And D-Mac, that was his role for years, being just coming on and tearing it up. Is that part of the thinking? And with Ratimer being kind of a faster paced, maybe when tired bodies are around, he can snipe around the base and make something happen. And TJ Perenara can be a sort of a more controlling force on the match. Interesting thought. Ratimer to me is the number 1-9 here out of the options that are available at the moment. That is until Cam Roigard is back, and then it will be a battle between those guys, I would imagine, for the starting job for New Zealand. So another thought, is there a little bit of sentiment going on with this selection? Is TJ Perenara potentially playing his last All Black match on home soil? We don't know what the future holds for him in front of a Wellington crowd. That would be quite a nice moment for him. Is that part of the thinking, do you reckon? And I don't know. I was going to say the same about Beauden Barrett, but to me, I love seeing Beauden Barrett at 10. And also, fly halves, as much as any position on the field, maybe more than most positions on the field, can play into advanced years. So I actually think Beauden Barrett, if he still keeps his form going, he's got years left in the tank, because it's the rugby IQ up top, the speed of thought, which is so important for a good fly half. And how many good fly halves have we seen go on into their mid-30s without any problem whatsoever? Tell me what you think on all of those points. I've got to this point, I should have really mentioned to start with Sam Cane, the man photographed there, who is making his 100th test appearance for New Zealand. A man that's got a lot of criticism down the years, has got his detractors, sometimes justified, sometimes a little over the top. But I think what you have to say is, whatever you think of Sam Cane, to play 100 caps in that jersey, many of those caps being the man backing up the great Richie McCaw, even being second fiddle to Richie McCaw in that jersey, is no small feat whatsoever. And so congratulations to Sam Cane on 100 test caps. An unchanged pack and no complaints there. Front row, very, very good. Tupou has been a positive. Blackadder and Papali'i are now down the pecking order, aren't they, with the impact that Wallace Satiti has made. And Ethan Blackadder was fit to play in this one. I wonder, with his fitness concerns, is Scott Robertson losing faith in Blackadder, or is he keeping his powder dry with him until maybe the tour up north, when You know, a bigger body, a bit of a bruiser might be useful to him. Although Jacobson has done pretty well off the bench, and he's got a bigger body anyway on the bench in the shape of Patrick Tuipulotu. Big boost there, upgrade from Sam Darry, and someone that can come on and dog it a little bit in the last quarter of a game when you want a bit of impact. He's clearly had some issues putting on Darry for many minutes. I don't think that'll be the case with Tuipulotu, and with 300 kilograms of props to come off the bench in Tosi and Williams, in a pretty good place there. David Havili is the only other talking point. In for Anta Linnett-Brown on the bench, who starts. A conventional inside centre. Will that bring more out of Rico Ioane? That's going to be interesting to watch. I thought that the last time Anton Linnett-Brown started, and it didn't really happen, but maybe it will this time. And David Havili on the bench. It surprised me, actually. He's 29. I thought he was older than that. And he can play in multiple positions, which I think is why he's there. And when you think about the players that aren't even involved, Mark Talea, I mean, not on the radar at the moment. Narawa overlooked as well. I wonder what's going on here with some of the changes. Chopping in, chopping out, DMAC in, DMAC out, Bodie 15, Bodie on the bench, Bodie 10. Some players starting and then out of the 23. I'm trying to work out what's going on here. This is partly Scott Robertson starting his new reign, but I wonder if it's also the fact that maybe Super Rugby, without those South African sides, does not prepare you for Test match rugby. So it's difficult to judge a player on Super Rugby form. That's just a thought. But I'm really excited about Jordan and Bodie being on from the start. That's could be absolutely box office. As for, if we move to Australia, like New Zealand, the changes for them come in the back line. In fact, you know, this is the first time Australia have named the same forward pack in consecutive matches since the first game of the Rugby World Cup. So it has been very changeable for them up front. But Joe Schmidt seems to have got his 8 that he's happy with. And they did a decent job last week. And the changes come in the back line. Dylan Peach on the left wing for Marika Korombete, and Jake Gordon in for Nick White at 9. So the All Blacks are putting their experienced 9 and 10 in the hot seat. Australia are mixing it up by ejecting their experienced 9. And Jake Gordon, outside the 23, leapfrogs Tate McDermott straight into the starting lineup. I think that's maybe a mindset and a style shift slightly. Maybe not massive from Joe Schmidt, because I think he'll keep it quite controlled. But Jake Gordon has got the ability to run. And I think the running game is probably why he's there. And I think that's probably a smart move, because in New Zealand, Australia are probably going to have to score minimum 25 points, probably over 30 points, in order to beat New Zealand on home soil. So maybe a little roll of the dice rather than the controlling influence that Nick White is, might be a smart move. Noah Lolesio continues at 10. Ben Donaldson on the bench. 10 still an issue for Australia as far as I'm concerned. Joe Schmidt, though, I think he's doing the right thing in sticking with Lolesio, because you ask 10 different Australians, you get a split of opinion on who should be starting 10 and who should be where. That's not how you build an international team, I think. And again, this leads back to New Zealand and Scott Robertson kind of flipping around. We thought he had stuck with Damien McKenzie, but now not. I think Joe Schmidt needs to stick for a period of time. Otherwise, you're never going to know what a team is capable of. So Lolesio continues. Dylan Peach in for Marika Korombete. Korombete hasn't looked the same player he was. Hopefully that's a temporary blip on his form, but Peach looked busy off the bench last week. Filippo Daungunu obviously is the one that they're missing. He'll be back, but not till after the end of year tours. And also, question, if you're an Aussie, Suaili, yeah, the guy coming from Rugby League, him. Is he able to travel north with the squad when they come for the end of year tests? Might he be involved? They're playing against England, Wales, Scotland and Ireland. So I think they'd be looking for at least one win out of those 4 games. Be interesting to see if he appears. 1 win out of 5 in the Rugby Championship so far, though. And if they finish with 1 win out of 5, that would be below par for Australia and what their expectations would be. Not much below par, though, right? With where they're at. Their pack, tough Roosters. Fraser McWright and Bobby V are who they build their team around. Confidence they'll take from last week. And on the bench, I quite like Amosa and Salakai Lotto. Bit of punch there. Now, I mentioned this. Quite interesting. This is the team the last time these two sides met in Wellington. It was in 2020. It finished 16 all. And just have a look at that. On that day, by the way, Caleb Clark and Tupu Vai made their debut. So did Hunter Paisami, Harry Wilson and Filippo Daugunu for Australia on that day. It was the day Michael Hooper made his 100th appearance for Australia. But in the pack, New Zealand still have 6 guys that are from 2020 that are involved in the match this weekend. Australia have 4. In the backs, New Zealand have only Rieko Ioane, who's still starting, but 4 other guys that were involved from the 3 other guys there on the bench who are now involved, and DMAC as well, obviously, is on the bench this weekend. And Australia, it's similar. They've got Gordon and Lolesio and Paisami. So my point being, it's actually comparable when you look at the big players that they've lost from that team and the number of people that they've actually managed to retain. But yet it feels like the countries have just gone like that, or rather New Zealand have carried on, maybe even dropped a little bit, but Australia have absolutely tanked. So I guess I was surprised how many players for Australia was kind of still around, but maybe that speaks to the talent pathways in Australia and the fact that, as people keep saying, so much of their talent is being plundered by rugby league and AFL these days. That might be something there, but just quite an interesting one to have a look at. The final thing I want to show you, though, is my combined 23-man squad. If you had access to all 23 men from each side, who would you pick in a combined team? And I've only, unfortunately, for Australia, gone for 3 Aussies, and it could well have been 2, to be perfectly honest. In the forwards, I'm quite happy with that. The 2 flankers, Bobby V and Fraser McReight, class, and that's where Australia have to try and win the game, attack the breakdown, slow down New Zealand's ball, and then be wrecking balls with it. Come up with some smart plays like the over-the-top line-out that led to Fraser McReight's try. In the back line, Len Ikitau, the only one that I could select. And Rieko Ioane, I mean, he's such an incredible athlete. He would be in like that if he were on the wing. Still as a 13, there are question marks, no doubt about his athleticism. He's big, he's quick, he is exceptional. And with Anton Linnett-Brown inside him, I think hopefully we may see a more conventional 13 performance from him, but that remains to be seen. Len Ikitau, though, looks good. But the bench belongs to New Zealand. The front 5 and forward replacements belongs to New Zealand. The brains trust 9, 10, 15 belongs to New Zealand. I just cannot see anything other than New Zealand by 20 points. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think the Rugby Championship for Australia is going to finish with a probably quite a crushing defeat, which they'll have to then recover from in the end-of-year tests. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Tim. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. Leave your comment down below. Am I completely wrong on that assessment? Or am I not strong enough? Do you think it's New Zealand by 40? Or do you think by some chance Australia can make it very, very competitive again? We will see. I'll be there watching the game and then reacting to it immediately afterwards. So I'll see you here for that. And the rest of the rugby content coming. We've got Rugby Championship concluding, URC continuing, Premiership. And before you know it, will there be more international rugby coming around again? I love it.